Hello, my name is Veronica Powers. I'm a PCBA, and today I am talking about power struggles and how to avoid them with your child. This material is prepared from CPPA grant initiative through Wareham Public Schools. So, what in definition is power struggle? From a behavior perspective, the power struggle occurs typically between adult and the child, and it's a series of different behaviors that we as the adults engage in to basically exert control over another person, in this situation over a child. This can lead to continued escalation as we are on this pattern of having that control over the situation. So in other words, basically what happens, instead of providing a child with a specific co-regulation tools or reinforcement tools, or even sometimes walking away or waiting the child out, then their behaviors, we escalate through our approach the situation further. With the power struggles, there is a very fine line, because there are certain behavior techniques that may appear as a power struggle, but they not necessarily are a power struggle. They're intended to influence a behavior in a positive way, and from a perspective of someone who doesn't know those techniques, they might appear as. Some of those techniques might be involving things like not allowing a child to completely escape or avoid a task, such as doing homework or doing hygiene tasks, and not allowing completely to escape those might appear as a power struggle, but in a sense, it is a specific technique that we, as a behaviorist, we might not allow that escape, or allow just partial escape. But at the same time, we will teach different skills, such as functional communication skills. So we'll provide reinforcement. So there's a couple different techniques typically used when we don't allow a child to escape certain tasks, because we don't want to teach intravenously them behaviors that might in the future not benefit them. Why people engage in a power struggles? Somewhere in the chain of a behavior, each person's behavior is reinforced. What it means. So if you engage in a power struggle and you feel like you won that situation, in that situation, or you were able to prove your point, or you were able to convince your child to whatever they're supposed to do, then your behavior in that power struggle is reinforced, right? You feel good about that you did the right thing, so you continue doing it because it feels good and it feels right. If the child in a power struggle, in a sense, you can say win, and tries to escape the situation or gets what they want, then their behavior got reinforced too. So those tantrums, when they displaying the tantrums to get something or to get away from something or avoid something, and they got the item or they were allowed to avoid a situation, then that behavior is reinforced. And if it's reinforced, it will most likely continue in the future and will be more difficult to diminish this behavior. And there's a couple examples I put it here in my little PowerPoint. So one of the example talks about when you get your child getting ready to go out for whatever reason. Maybe you're going shopping, maybe you're going to see family members, and your child yells no. So you threaten them to take the iPad away. If they continue yelling or not listening to you, you tell them, like, if they continue acting like this, they're not gonna go out at all. But if in this situation the child was avoiding to go out and didn't really care for the iPad, then their behavior got reinforced. Maybe they stop yelling in the moment, and you feel as a parent you won the battle, or maybe they didn't stop yelling, but you were able to uh, uh, you postpone the outing, or you cancel completely that outing, as a consequence, as a natural consequence, right? And at this point, you feel like maybe you won that battle, or you provided appropriate consequence for that behavior. But if the child in the first place was avoiding something, then uh, you basically show them that their behavior can be reinforced if they act in specific way. So that's why you need to understand the reasons behind the behavior and why children will be doing certain things, and have that perspective, sometimes it's very difficult to do it, and it's very difficult for people with degree like me, who are doing this for living, to understand the reasons behind the behavior. And it takes a lot of time, and on our end, data collection and observations to understand the reasons, so that we can as a behaviorist prescribe the right treatment, right type of reinforcement, or consequences that we advise to parents to do. So at the end of the day, it takes a lot of perspective taking, a lot of observation of the situation to understand how you got in the power struggle and how not to repeat it. And we all make mistakes, and it happened to the best of us that we got into those power struggles, and then it happened to myself, to me, and I took a step back and I thought about this and just try to do better next time. So it's a skill that it's learned. It just doesn't happen naturally. It takes a little bit of a time to develop the skill as an adult too. Couple different things how to avoid power struggles. The first one is functional communication training. So what it means from a behavior perspective, it means that we are teaching a child how to communicate their needs, wants, desires, frustrations. So it's not necessarily a speech training, even if there's word communication. It's more of that in a moment the child, instead of displaying those difficult behaviors and engaging in that power struggle with us, we give them words that they can use as a keywords to ask for help or to ask for breaks. So in a different situations, like when the child struggles with regulation, and they have hard time asking for help, we typically teach things like a break. So it can be just a simple word break, or give me space, giving that a little space, and encouraging that functional communication. Sometimes that's enough just to reset the situation. Another technique is providing controlled choice. So you want to provide choices for your children, but within the limits of what's possible, what's feasible, what's safe, and what's appropriate for your home setting. So often what we do in those situations, we provide those choices, we provide two to three feasible choices. And sometimes those choices are, if it comes to like activities, is we can play, inside with those type of toys, or those type of toys. Make your choice. Or you can, sometimes it's choice based on a time. So you can take a bath before dinner or after dinner. What is your choice? So you're giving a little bit of a choice, teaching some of the independence, but it's within control and safety of your home. You want to provide also a clear and consistent reinforcement system. So I will be talking about more of reinforcement system in one of my future videos. But basically with reinforcement system, when you provide any sort of a schedule reinforcements, meaning that you expect your child to do something or do XYZ, and they can be rewarded by a specific activity, ice cream, sticker, extra playtime. So if you are doing it, it needs to be very clear and fair and consistent. So you cannot change it from day to day, as that kind of can create feelings of uncertainty, feelings of not knowing what the future brings. It can dysregulate the child. Another technique is starting with an easy task, to build the momentum, or presenting few easy tasks before demanding one. I use that a lot with children who are being oppositional, a little bit non-compliant. And I start with a super, super easy thing, something I know they can do it, something that I know it's not necessarily super fun, but easy enough for them to do it. So when I go to different centers and I work with the little kids, and let's say the teacher asks them to wash their hands and they refuse or run away, then I start with a very, very simple task and I ask them if they can take my papers that I have with me or my book and put it away, and they feel like very empowered that they're helping. It's a very easy task, they know how to do it, they love to do it, and that's my momentum. If they do, that's the start of the momentum, right? A behavior momentum. So it means that basically they complied and they are willing to in a sense compromise and listen. So I now, based on that, I can reinforce them and tell them they're doing a really good job, and then present a little bit more difficult tasks, such as walking with me towards the sink and washing those hands. Sometimes you have to use plan ignoring or wait out if appropriate. What does it mean? You do with plan ignoring, it's a very specific behavior strategy. During this strategy, you do not ignore your child. You present, you observe, you there emotionally and physically available for any need that might occur, but you do not respond to the behaviors that are problematic, like a tantrum. So like if your child have a tantrum, you do not walk away, you're there, you're available, you can present some of the coping skills, but you do not comment on that tantrum. You do not tell your child that they did doing something wrong or they're embarrassing or they need to pull it together. Uh, you do not just give attention to that behavior. And the idea behind the plan ignoring is that you do not want to reinforce those negative behaviors by any sort of positive and negative attention, but it doesn't mean that you are not present there for your child in need. And if and jump in with specific other tools like functional communication training I spoke about, or coping skills that I spoke before to support your child. Another thing to avoid power struggles is using visuals, and they are fantastic for transitions, especially a lot of children, younger children, they struggle with transitions when they're unexpected. If they are very routine oriented and consistent, they do much more better. But if they're unexpected transitions, the little ones often struggle. So having those visuals to prepare them for that transition, it eases some of that frustration and brings that consistency. And the visuals could be as simple as saying, in the visuals it says, where the child is going, for how long, what behaviors are expected of them. Or it could be as simple as after the visuals present breakfast, after breakfast go to school, so they know that after breakfast school always happen, or after breakfast we go brush teeth, or after breakfast it's we do a phone call to our grandma and grandpa. So that helps with those transitions. Those are the examples of it. Another thing is having clear expectation and consequences. So your expectation, they need to be consistent from day to day. So if you expect your child to behave a certain way, it should be at most times or basically all times the same way. If you change it, your expectation daily, then that can really dysregulate your child, and they don't know from day to day how to behave, because sometimes their behavior might cause some frustration and sometimes not. The same goes for expectation, for consequences. So a good example that comes to my mind is actually example from some of the centers when the expectation is that when the children arrive to school, they need to wash their hands first, or before they sit for the meal, they have to wash their hands. It's a very clear expectation. It becomes a routine. It never changes with no matter who is the teacher or who is supporting the classroom, and it brings that level of peace and understanding for the children. What other things helps with this power struggles? Reframing a request. So sometimes when it's a very strong demand, just reframing this in a sense of choice, is the power struggle altogether. One of the example again it comes to my mind is for some reason everything to do with the hand washing. So the recently I worked with a child who was refusing hand washing, and when you ask that child go wash hands or it's time to wash hands, he ran away and he was non-compliant. But reframing a request in a sense of, hey, how about we wash hands together, and maybe you can pick which sink I use and which sink you use, was enough for that child to start washing their hands. I spoke a little bit about plan ignoring on the previous slide and maybe waiting out the situation. Sometimes it's just good to take a step back, wait a couple minutes, and where you can collect yourself, allow your child a little bit de-escalate, and you can return to the situation and try to resolve it. I put it walking away. Sometimes just walking away to a distance, so you don't provide that attention and you allow a little bit of space might be enough, and then you can go back and reframe a request or start over again. Other thing it's important power struggles, it's remaining neutral no matter what. It's very important to remain neutral, and I know it's so hard sometimes with our children when they get right under your skin and they know how to push those buttons, and it's a difficult skill to really maintain for anyone, but having that neutral expression and not allowing the negative emotion to come to present in your through your face, through your words, it will help to de-escalate the situation and help to co-regulate. Next one is using first and then language. So in the power struggles, basically you say first your expectation, what the child is expected to do, and then what will come after, either some sort of a reward, a time with on activity, time with with a parent, a break. So it's a great tool to use. Recognizing attempts to compromise. So your child might not understand the word compromise yet at this age, but just those moments when maybe they're non-compliant, but yet they kind of turn your way and kind of listen. This is the way of compromising, and just recognizing those little moments can just build that momentum that you can then have those other techniques used. Another thing is making plan with your child. So that is very good when you go for any sort of outings, or you need to go for run errands, visit family members, and you know that they struggle with those situations. Making the plan, what's gonna happen, how long you gonna be there, what is the reward, for being acting according to expectation, and what happens if things don't go well, like if the child gets overwhelmed, like what is the consequence, how are you going to return home. So and involving your child in it could be a very useful tool. and generally providing reinforcement when things are going well. So you don't want to always focus on those negative things and the power struggles and maladaptive behaviors. I know I talk a lot about this because that's what I do. I do deal with behaviors, right, as a BCBA, but you want to focus on the positive things that are happening from day to day and finding those uh, little things that your child is doing and accomplishing to build that confidence and in your child and to build that strong bond. So when you have to actually provide any of more demanding strategies or statements, then you have a very strong bond with your child, and you have a strong confident child that can basically take that demand and be able to deal with that. What else can you do to ensure that your child listens and de-escalates? You want to be attentive. Even at very young age, the kids pick up on the social cues. Often paraphrase what your child says, not only for helping them to slow down a little bit when they escalate it, but to understand what exactly actually is frustrating them. And you will be so surprised when you paraphrase that often it's not what you think they're frustrated about, it's not what they are actually frustrated about. Sometimes it takes a little bit of a time to getting the information out of them. You provide functional language, so you teach them how to ask for help, how to ask for break, how to ask for a little space, how to ask for a hug. So then instead of having those power struggles, the tantrums, then you can give them a cue, or you can ask them, what do you need? Do you need help? Do you need hug? Do you want me to leave you alone for a minute? And then they are able to respond to this because you already gave them that functional language and you practice that with them. Maintaining neutral facial expression. So I know it can be hard when they get underneath your skin and they really push your buttons, as I said before, but you just want to practice that neutral facial expression because you're there to help your child in a moment, and you're the adult who has all the skills now to help your child, and your child is learning just those skills. You want to keep instruction and request concise and to the point, especially in escalated situation. So if you over explain yourself, if you go into a lot of lecturing, then your child in escalated situation, they only can hear so much and process so much because they already have a lot of emotion going on in their little bodies. So you wanna, if there is an instructional request, then you wanna keep it to the point. You want them to de-escalate, and then you can have that conversation about more of a lecturing conversation if you wish. Another thing is, even if your child is yelling, you want to keep it quiet. This is a really good technique because it kind of takes them a little bit by surprise because you're not reacting to all of the emotions. You don't. It's in a sense a co-regulating techniques to help them to you modeling to them how to speak quietly in even if they cannot do it in a moment. So will get worse before it gets better. Yes, it will get worse if it gets before it gets better. In fact, basically, when you see that things get worse because with your new techniques or new approaches, and most likely, what it means that your approach is working. There's a surge in a behavior when you change your approach, typically with most of the children, and it's called in our field, in my field, in ABA field, it's called extinction burst. So basically, that's what happens. The behavior gets worse and worse and worse, and peaks at its worst, and then slowly it decreases in frequency and intensity. So be aware of that because that happens a lot and it might discourage you, but typically it's a very good thing actually. That means that your new approach is working very well. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. And if you have any questions, please reach out at the email provided. Thank you.